Hi there, this is Tami Bonnell, co-chair for EXIT Realty Corp International. And I have the privilege today of getting to be with Julie Jenkins. And she is a broker owner of ours in Sarnia, Ontario, EXIT Realty Twin Bridges. And I have to say, she is such a strong giver. And she gives back to her community, she gives back to her agents, she gives back to the industry. But she has an amazing story really tied to what we're focused on. We're focused on being the solution in any circumstance, but we're really focused on housing affordability and affordable housing. We're firm believers that if one person can do it, another can do it. And whether that's making something duplicatable or literally just collaborating and saying, okay, well, if we can't do all of this, maybe we can do a little bit of it and make our own hybrid. But the more we talk about solutions, I think the more we're going to focus on what we can do instead of what we can't. You have an amazing story, Julie. I can't thank you enough for being here. And I'm going to stop talking so you can share it.
Thanks, Tami. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I do have a great story about working with Habitat for Humanity. It starts with a bit of a confession, though. When I first decided to do something with Habitat, it was, for me at the time, an opportunity to grow my real estate business. I was a brand new agent. I was looking for ways to reach out into the community. So I thought, let's do this and I will, get some recognition here. And maybe have a little bit of fun doing it. It turned out to actually change my life in a lot of ways and change my outlook on viewing things in the community. And it's really what set me on the path to be really involved in the community. And it started out with the women's networking group that I ran. The executive officer of Habitat reached out to me and she said, you know what, we really need some help on a specific build. It's a single mom with some kids. And I'm wondering if your women's network would be interested in doing a special build. So we launched 40 women, 40 days, $40,000. And we had a group of 40 women raise $40,000. We got pretty close to our goal of $40,000 in just 40 days. But the fundraising part was just one small piece. We had the privilege of spending a lot of time on the build site with the future owner of the home, Anne, and her family. And they became friends and future clients as well of mine. All of the time we were there on the build site, we were having lots of fun, playing with the power tools, we were drywalling. We completely sided the outside of her house. And every time I drive by that house, I still mention it to whoever I'm with it. I was involved in building that house and sided the whole outside of it. But the story, the special part of it is one day I was in what would be Anne's master bedroom in the future. And we were cutting out drywall around her bedroom window. And I said to her, hey, Anne, isn't this going to be funny? Every day when you wake up and you look out your window, you're going to think about us cutting the drywall out around your window. Isn't that awesome? And she said, yeah, and we had a little laugh, which was great. But it was a huge aha moment for me because I realized that for Anne, this wasn't about building her networks in the community. This wasn't about, getting some recognition. This was going to be her home for her and her children. And I really learned a lot about the impact that was going to have on her family. She was living in a basement apartment with her 3 small children, and it leaked. She couldn't keep anything on the floors. It was just not a good situation at all. And what an amazing, proud moment it was when I was able to do the key ceremony and hand her the keys to her new home and watch her go in with her family. It was an absolutely life-changing moment for me, and it made me realize that I could do something, I could help. And because of myself and our group's efforts, she had a warm, dry place to and safe place to raise her family. It was absolutely amazing.
I love that. I love that. So how do you go from getting an introduction, and obviously you saw this opportunity and then you realized, which I think happens to a lot of us, that aha moment, right? It's not the circumstances you're in, it's the choices you make. So you made a choice to participate and be part of this, 40 women raising $40,000 in 40 days. So, you know, that busy hands make light work. That could be $1,000 a person, or who knows how that got split up. But how'd you get started? How did you get started once you made this agreement? How did you get started on that process?
We sat down together, all of the 40 women that decided that they wanted to do it. We formed amazing relationships with each other, and I keep in touch with most of them still to this day. What we did was we worked together with Habitat. They gave us 40 pink hard hats. So we were able to have the hard hats. They had the logo for 40 women, 40 days, $40,000 on them. And I just wore that hard hat everywhere I went for 40 days. And I had people asking me about it and how they could help and how they could get involved. I had people handing me checks and money left, right, and center. We did a few different fundraising things. It was so much fun. I've never had so much fun raising money before. It was a first of its kind idea, and it had never been done in our community like that before. So it was really a great thing to be a part of and raise all that money. We had different people that were involved in different network marketing businesses, and they were donating a portion of their sales, which of course helped them as well as fundraising for. But it was really just wearing our hard hats everywhere we went. People were wearing them to work. There were pictures all over social media of everybody in their pink hard hats. So it was really a lot of fun.
Well, I love that it was fun and that you stood out, but I bet it was easier to wear the hard hat and go out and do it because you were doing it for someone else. Sometimes when you're doing something, you're stepping out of your comfort zone, it takes a little bit of courage. When you remind yourself of who you're doing it for or what you're doing it for, it really makes a huge difference. So was sharing that story with everybody, how it made it a whole lot easier to stay walking around in a pink hard hat and make it jump out?
Yes, absolutely. And we went to our local Chamber of Commerce networking events where a whole bunch of us showed up with their pink hard hats. And we left with a lot of money at the end of that event as well. People were really excited and wanted to know more and why we were wearing these pink hard hats. It was really a great way to not go around and feel like we were asking for money or pestering people for money. People were coming up to us and asking us what it was all about and what we were doing. So it made it very easy.
That's awesome. I just read something that said, and I think it was Forbes that did the study, but that we have 8 or 9 seconds to capture somebody's attention, right? And if you do it with some sort of a wow factor, which obviously the pink hard hats for anybody that's thinking of doing something fundraiser wise, or really getting it noticed that there is an importance for housing affordability, affordable housing, that what a great way to get it to stand out and have everybody come to you instead of you having to jump out to them and then having a message. Did you all talk about what the message was going to be, or did you all speak from your own heart?
I think we all just decided to have some fun with it. You know, it has led to a number of other habitat builds since then. So that team of women, I think we did 3 or 4 builds together. And I've also done a couple more builds with my team of agents at my office. So I've done 6 builds altogether. One of them I had a team for my women's networking group and for my team of agents at my office as well. And they're always fun team building activities. But it's the key ceremony, which is the most exciting time. If you've never done a habitat build before, you know, it's definitely something that you should consider because, you know, everybody is excited to get on the build site and play with the tools and do all that fun stuff, but it's really handing over the keys to the homeowner at the end is where you really get the biggest reward, to see somebody who's actually going to have a new roof over their head, a place to raise their family. It's something that most of us just take for granted. And up until that moment in Anne's bedroom, I never thought about it before, what an impact this was making on her life. I knew the impact already that it was making on my life, but I didn't really think about the impact it was making on her life. And, we keep in touch, and her family as well, I talk to on a regular basis, and she's doing great, has a new career. It really changed the trajectory of her life as well. Having a safe place to live took some of the stress and worry off, so she could focus on, doing other things.
I love it. Mindset's 4 times as important as the activities you do, and having that freedom, freeing up from being worried like that probably helped her mindset and helped her to make some new choices. We've witnessed it everywhere, and obviously Exit's been a huge supporter of Habitat to the tune of more than $4 million pledged, and we built all over North America. And I love seeing the connections that an office makes and how much closer they get, because they get to know each other better, and they get to know each other's strengths and find out that there's somebody with a skill set they never dreamt was possible. But you get this courage to go out and wear the pink hard hats, then you get to the literally the substance of getting to build and getting to bond and connect whenever you get to do something. They say even when you're having something not great going on in your life, when you do something good for somebody else, you stop worrying about the things that aren't going on great in your life, and you totally change your mindset. But that closing, that beautiful, tying it up in a bow, and really feeling that emotion of seeing somebody end up with the keys. Home ownership impacts the community. It impacts, obviously, whatever that family structure is. It doesn't matter if it's you and a cat, or a single mom with 3 kids, or what it is. It impacts that whole entire family on what they believe is possible, because they get exposed to experiences. And right now they estimate in North America that it's about 42 times the family wealth of someone that does not have home ownership. But you see that they start taking care of the neighborhood better. They start participating in the community more because they feel some ownership, right? They feel like they're really part of something. So did that make people in your office do more fundraisers together and connect everybody together and make them closer?
Absolutely. We do a lot of different things in our office. We do a few different community food drives that our agents do. I think that was, for some of them, their first glimpse into giving back to the community and the kind of difference you can make in people's lives. The 40 Women, 40 Days, I should mention as well, was the first time that they had our local college trades program involved in the build as well. So the executive officer for Habitat drove by the college every day and watched the students in the construction class building these small structures and then tearing them down, and building them and tearing them down. So she went and talked to the dean of the program and said, you know what, if your students need some experience with actual building, why don't you invite them to a Habitat build? So it was unique from that perspective as well, because those students helped us to build the house, and worked side by side with us all the way through the build as well, in addition to the Habitat volunteers, which, sometimes they get stretched a little bit thin. So it just added more bodies in there to be able to get the work done. Like you said, more hands makes light work. So there were a lot of people that were involved in it. So it was, definitely a community initiative. There were lots of different groups involved as well, which was really allowed us to make a bigger difference.
I love that. And the younger you start, think about if you start that young and you have that exposure to experiences, how much you're going to want to continue doing that lifelong, of being able to give back, because you realize how important it is. But I also think sharing the information, think of all the people, and you mentioned it a little bit in the beginning of this, of how many other builds this, and how many other lives, and all that sort of stuff. I think that pebble effect, the pebble in the water, that ripple effect, you don't even really realize how far it's going to go until you touch it. And imagine, instead of us all complaining about what we can't do, looking at what we can do.
Yes, absolutely. One of the builds that we did was a seniors complex. There were actually 5 units in it, and it was the biggest build of its kind ever in Canada. So there were so many different teams involved in that one, and 5 senior families, couples or single seniors, all had a house to live in at the end of it. And that was another very rewarding one for me because my childhood babysitter and her husband were one of the people that got a key at the end of that. So it was really exciting to be a part of that too.
That's incredible. Well, it shows you that there are people in need in every age range category and every set of circumstances, right? Single people, elderly, young families, single moms, single dads. You know, it has an impact on everybody. The income hasn't kept up, obviously, with the price of housing. And but here are some great solutions to be able to jump in and participate and build long-term relationships that you never probably even imagined having. And it opens our eyes incredibly, right? I mean, it's the exposure to experiences. If we're not aware of something, then how can we do something about something we're not even aware of? There's an awful lot of things that we can take for granted that we don't even realize. There are people that aren't even aware of it, never mind have the freedom to be able to take it for granted. So the builds, just explain a couple of the family structures only for people to be able to hear and realize that it's not one set category, right? That it is several different ways that we can go about doing this.
The builds that we've been involved in have been very varied, actually. So our first one was Anne, a single mom with 3 young kids. Then we worked with a family that was brand new to Canada, so brand new immigrants that had come and needed a place to live. So we helped to build a house for them. We also had, through our local community living, which works with special needs people, we built a home for a couple of their clients in Petrolia, which is a little town about 20 minutes outside of Sarnia. So we did that actually twice for 2 different groups of people. So again, they need a little bit of extra help and a little extra support. And so that allowed them to have a spot there where they were close to the center that supported them, that could check in with them and have a caregiver there with them as well. And then we had the seniors home that had houses for 5 different seniors that were involved in that. And we've had everything in between. So some families that were struggling to keep up, to pay the bills. You mentioned it, once you take off that stress of having a roof over your head, it really does make a difference in everything in your life. And I found that the education piece of it has been very important as well. There are some people who believe that Habitat just gives houses away, but that is not actually how it works. You have to qualify, and Habitat is actually the mortgage holder. So they hold the mortgage, and the homeowner does need to pay based on their income and their ability. They pay back Habitat over time. And what it does is it just gives them that opportunity to buy a house when they might not qualify for a conventional mortgage, where Habitat they're just paying Habitat directly for that. So it's really a great program. And they also have to put in 500 hours of sweat equity. What that means is they can work in the Habitat Restore, which is where people can donate household items, and Habitat sells them, and they use that money to fund the bills. So they can work in the store and volunteer there, or they can be out on the build site, whether that's their own house that's being built or another house. So it gets them involved in giving back as well. So, and also their families. So they don't have to do all 500 hours themselves. So as I mentioned, Anne's family was very involved as well. And so we get to meet all of the different family members, and they can help to contribute. And once they've had that glimpse into the need in the community, then they're more apt to say yes when there's volunteer opportunities that come up, and then they can be involved and give back in their own ways.
I love it. You know, EXIT picked Habitat for Humanity, and that was our charity of choice in the very beginning. And we still do a lot with the Spirit of Exit program with Habitat. And it was because they have to go through an arduous application process. They have to put in sweat equity, and they pay a mortgage after the fact. And it was the opportunity to give somebody a leg up, not just a flat out handout. And I
Yeah.
think that gives them so much appreciation for what it is they have. It's not something that's just give and take. Everyone has the opportunity to give. I love the fact too that not only can they build a single house or multiples, but they can also rehab homes, so that if something's not safe to live in now, they have the ability to rehab homes or make it wheelchair accessible or things like that when someone's circumstances change. And I think that's really terrific. Everyone has an opportunity to be able to participate, and you can participate in a really small way, top of mind awareness, or doing a bit of volunteering, or you can participate in a really large way. So I love that. But it absolutely makes everybody that participates closer as a team. I'm sure that everyone in your office, I know by example, that they feel like part of your family. And that really does make a difference on everybody willing to help each other no matter where the circumstances are. Sometimes we're on an unbelievable high and things are going great, and sometimes it's not, and it's families that stick together no matter what the circumstances are, right?
Absolutely. I'm really glad that you mentioned Spirit of Exit, because we've been able to use that program, I think, for every one of our builds, and doubled up what we were able to donate to Habitat. And that has made a big difference in the stress of us fundraising all of the money. So we've been able to, double our efforts really for every build with the Spirit of Exit program. So, I encourage everybody to use that program if they're doing anything charitable in their community, because it really is awesome. And Susan and her team make it really effortless to get through all of the things that you need to do to have your funds raised.
Susan and Sylvia are doing a phenomenal job with the program. And just to make really clear for anybody that's listening, the Spirit of Exit is money from every single transaction goes to a charitable fund. And when an office puts together a charitable fundraiser, and it has to be a bona fide charity, and they put together a fundraiser and they put in an application, then they raise a certain amount of funds, and Exit can match the funds. And that has really made it, not only are the agents pulling together as a team to raise these funds, but everyone knows they're doing something good and giving back. And then that extra bonus of everyone participating makes all the difference in the world.
It's been a great team builder for our team, to be able to get on the build site and spend the day together. And I honestly don't do a lot of work on the build site. I usually just have a little bit of fun, and I let the other people handle the tools and stuff. But it is really amazing, and you do learn a lot of things. I've never sited a house before, but I actually did learn how to do that. It was really a lot of fun. And I know a lot of people really do enjoy working with the drills and the different tools and learning. And the volunteers at Habitat, oh my goodness, they are the most patient people ever, because they stand beside you and they show you how to do it, and they check in on you and make sure that you're being okay, that you're doing okay and you're having fun, and they take lots of breaks, and they thank you at least 100 times during the day for spending the day with them and helping them out. And it really is just such a fun experience being out there with them. They really do appreciate everything that everyone does to help them to get the builds done.
I love it. And everyone grows from the experience, right? The people from Habitat, the volunteers, the families that are going to benefit, every single person grows from the experience, personally, I think, and professionally. And it is nice when you learn something new. I've learned flooring, I've hung trusses, it's really an awesome experience to be able to participate in all that. So I only have a couple more questions. One is, you said that it got all over social media. So was that literally that everybody just started jumping in with things? Did you have a deliberate plan?
I think just everybody taking pictures from wherever they were with their pink hats. That was 11 years ago, so social media wasn't quite what it was today. So it would be a little bit different now to have a collaborative effort to get it on social media. But definitely people were just taking pictures wherever they were, and people wanted to take pictures of us with our pink hats on in a group. So that did help, absolutely, and that would go a lot farther in today's world for that one. And all of the builds that we've done in the last couple of years, we've definitely had a lot of different things on social media. It helps with the fundraising for sure, to get your message out there. So, you know, social media is a big part of most of what we do nowadays, and it really does help us to get our message out to as many people as possible.
Well, I love it. You can find the volunteers, you can do more fundraising, and it takes the whole top of mind awareness viral, right? And you never know which picture or which caption is going to be the one that's really, really going to take off. And I think having it come from the community as well as from your office really does make people feel like they're part of that environment instead of it being anything that somebody's trying to sell towards somebody, right? It's more like, I want you to experience this with me. I want you to have this experience with me. So what would be the best pieces of advice if you just said, here's the top 3 things if you want to get involved in doing something like this that I would make sure you do? What would be those top 3 pieces of advice?
Well, the first one is just do it. People, we're just human nature. We're always afraid to do something new, or try something new, a lot of us. So I encourage you just to find out what it is that you can do, how you can get involved. Reach out to your local Habitat for Humanity and see if they've got any builds going on. So just get involved. And number 2, make it fun. It should be all about giving back. And I think another key piece is to make sure that you're following the build right through from the start to the finish. There are different parts. First of all, you do the fundraising, and then you have your time on the build site, whether that's one day or multiple days on the build site. After that, it seems like sometimes people go on with their life and they move on and they forget about things, but it's really important to get to the key ceremony, which is when the keys are handed over to the new homeowner, because that is one of the most rewarding parts of the whole experience, is watching them get their keys, put them in the door, turn the lock, open the door, and walk into their house. And you get to tour the finished house at that time too. So don't get too busy to go back and finish off the project by attending the key ceremony.
You know, I think that visual too, whenever you're going through something else really tough, whether it's another fundraiser or something else that you're going through tough, when you can close your eyes and you can visualize you were part of that and you did that and you helped somebody go from point A to point B and all the way to the point of turning the key into their own home. It is so emotional, and it is such a positive, uplifting emotion for everybody that's there. Julie, I can't thank you enough for all that you do to make such an impact. You're a phenomenal leader, and I think that this will be very helpful for everyone that listens.
Thank you so much.